Intro. What is it? We're gonna do it right now.
Now it's definitely up there.
Shit. What are you massaging yourself? You okay over
Dude,
there?
I just,
I don't know what the fuck he was doing.
my neck's a little sore. I don't think I slept too well. I was sleeping on a blow-up mattress, and I don't know. My body's just hurting a little bit. I'm a little sore. Just got back in the gym after, I had a little back problem going on for a couple of months. So I don't know. I don't know if it's the gym or if it's the freaking sleeping, but I'm hurting right now.
A lot of aches and pains over
Yeah,
there, huh?
I feel like I gotta keep moving and tweaking. Like
Ken,
the
come on,
joints
help
just
him
need to
out.
get lubed
Give
up.
help him out. A little massage of the neck for him.
I love you, buddy, but I'm not going to massage your neck.
It's fine. I wasn't asking for it, but
Although I did, I changed my pillow recently. It sounds weird as hell, but I changed my pillow recently, and the stiffness in my neck overnight changed. Crazy. Seriously, overnight. Boom, done. Overnight.
It's funny how the pillow it changed it overnight, considering that you had to sleep on it over. I don't know. Terrible. Just it's fine.
He's giving you a
Regardless.
suggestion
Was it?
for your
What
neck
was it?
pains.
What was it? Was it one of those square pillows? Does it have like a unique curvature?
No, it's just a flatter pillow. How I saw this or how I realized this was when we were in Vegas, and I basically slept with no pillow because those pillows sucked.
Terrible.
And I slept sometimes, often I sleep with no pillow at all. I don't know
I do
why.
too.
I just sleep no pillow.
That's
and,
good. No pillow.
And I think that because I don't know, it's like the bed isn't the pillow isn't putting my head up on a weird angle, that it helps. And then I got a flatter pillow because the pillow that I was using, I guess, was it starts fluffy, and then overnight it just gets weird. So then I got rid of that shit, and then now I just have a flat pillow. It's like a flatter pillow. It's it stays though the whole night. That's the thing. It's probably this big, but I think it has to do with when I'm on my side, because I'm a side sleeper. If you think about what I'm trying to figure out the science behind this. Ryan.
that's it.
If you think about how you sleep, right? If you have bigger shoulders, your head's like this, but I'm
now he's got
sunken
big
into
shoulders.
the bed. Yeah, I'm just fucking
Yeah.
huge. That's why it's my problem.
It is, yeah.
Such a joke.
Wow.
I don't know. My quality of sleep's just gone down.
Change your fucking pillow, James. That's the point.
Okay, cool.
For your
Thanks,
neck.
man.
The pillow man.
I've got 5 pillows. It's pretty bad. I'm a pillow hoarder.
Okay.
Body pillow.
But no, I don't know, man. I don't know if my quality of sleep's just gone downhill because of all the fucking injuries I've had. My body's just not. Or maybe it's because I'm 30. It's just getting downhill here. I don't know.
We're still spring chickens at 30. It's not because you're 30.
Just getting started.
I keep every single time, I keep getting older. People always say, "Oh, wait until how your body feels at 40, or wait until your body feels at 50." And well, I'm just like, "Fuck, I'm screwed."
Yeah, probably.
I feel like injuries also obviously are going to be the pain points when you're later down the line. I'm assuming. Your wife's a little bit of a different case with her sports injuries.
Her knees are fucked.
Why are you laughing?
Yeah, it's not funny,
It's not
man.
funny.
That's
but
not funny.
It's
very
not
traumatic.
funny, but he's the one that laughs.
It's very traumatic, damn it. No, it's okay.
I mean, all you can is laugh at injuries at this point. It's just part of it.
No.
Some of them.
Or else it's,
No,
or else
some
you,
of them.
or else it
Not all.
fucks with your head, your mental.
All right, on to the next thing.
All right, so it seems like injuries seem to be a pretty hot topic right now. Let's get into it. Let's talk a little bit about injuries then. Who wants to kick us off? What do you guys want to talk about related to injuries?
Me, I'll talk about it.
Okay.
I would have made the NFL if I didn't blow out my knee.
Okay.
So,
Wait,
hold
right
on,
there.
hold
There you
on.
are, right there on the screen.
Yeah, right there.
You would have made it.
Hold on, though.
Listen, we all would have made the NFL. If we
I'm
did it.
saying we have to give James credit. I think he did have the worst injury out of all of us.
Oh, breaking his neck?
Yeah, I think that's the worst.
Breaking necks and cashing checks, baby.
Yeah, damn right, motherfucker.
There's
He
a video,
forgot the cash
Damn
and
right,
checks part,
motherfucker.
but-
There's
Yeah,
a video on Instagram of him actually breaking his neck.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that is definitely the worst injury.
I
Oh,
got
100%.
I think I also got the luckiest out of the sports injuries.
I would also agree with that.
because I am completely fine. I mean, the worst thing I have to do is go see a chiropractor.
Yeah,
Just
but it was
keep the spine in line. That's it.
So James, let's talk about.
Oh, no,
this.
yeah.
Walk us through this journey of what
Goodness,
happened.
the amount of times I've had to tell this story.
Well, the world's gonna hear it now.
I know.
Yeah.
I'll try to keep it abridged. I won't go too much details. But essentially, we're playing San Diego State.
It was
San Diego
not
State,
San Diego
University.
State.
San Diego University.
San Diego State is
Just
big time.
relax. Just relax.
We're playing in California.
Let him speak.
San Diego University. Fourth play of the game, basically. And punter punted the ball. Shitty punt. Terrible punt. Watch the video. It's great. And a couple missed tackles, so I had to make the tackle. And I thought I was just going to fuck this guy up. It was down the sideline, so, I had sidelines your friend. And tried to shoot my head across the body, and I just head straight into his fucking body. Straight. This battering ram. Not good. Poor form tackle. Got up fine. People were slapping my helmet and stuff, cheering me on because I did hit the guy pretty hard.
Yeah.
And something felt off. After like a couple of minutes, and then my equilibrium was off. I couldn't walk straight. So then they took all the pads off, blah, blah, blah. I stayed on sideline for till halftime, walked myself into the hospital. Took that first x-ray, and the hospital freaked out. Dislocated C6 up and fractured C5. Put me in C-spine, got surgery. Took a red eye home the next day, wore a neck brace for 6 weeks, came back the next year and played.
Yeah.
But man, neck braces aren't fun. Not when you have to shave your neck, at least. Gets a little itchy.
That's how you met your wife, though. So that's
It
a
is how I
positive.
met my wife.
That is-
It is exactly how I met
A
my
nice
wife.
talking piece that you just wear
Right.
So-
24/7.
When
Well, I mean, when
lived
you're
in
sitting there like, oh, what'd you say, Kenny?
He's out at the bar. Can I have another?
Sneezing was the worst.
Yeah, I can see that.
Holy crap. That was terrible.
So
Ty's laughing over here. Ty's just mad. Shoot!
good one.
That
good
takes
one.
me back.
And we all lived with
That's
you at
Adam's
the time,
favorite.
So I remember that.
It
That
is.
was tough.
So you get hurt, you get injured, you go to the hospital. When did you actually start the surgery?
So because we played an afternoon game,
Yeah.
so I didn't get into surgery. I think I had to do a CT scan before just to make sure they knew exactly what was going on. And then it was like midnight, like it was late as fuck. And then I woke up. It was the next day, and coming out of anesthesia and stuff, and there was my mom. Like she already had flew in.
I remember.
Yeah,
we are.
I told her not to come because
We
I
are-
felt fine.
We're getting on the plane to go back to Florida, and your mom has it looks like she's just been through hell. Getting the news, jumping on the first fucking plane. I mean,
Yeah.
just
Do you
Hats
remember?
off to
She
her.
said when she walked off the plane and saw all of you, the president of the fucking university, the head coach, she thought something happened, like you guys were leaving because
yeah.
something happened. So I could imagine that she went through fucking hell.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I felt fine. It didn't
Yeah.
hurt. So I guess I didn't see it as a big thing yet.
Yeah.
I still actually didn't because the doctor was so fucking good that I felt nothing bad afterwards either. It was just I had to be in a fucking neck brace.
Well, you said that a bunch too of how you almost feel lucky, feel blessed that it happened
Yeah.
in California, it happened in San Diego, and you were able to work with that doctor.
The most important piece was I didn't get carted off in a stretcher because then I would have went to a different hospital.
Right.
I went to, I think it was Sharp or something like that was the name of the hospital, and it was like a top of the line hospital.
The
right now.
fact you broke your neck and didn't get a stretcher is insane.
Right for
Yeah,
for football,
like, it's nuts.
You would think that that'd be the first precaution, and we didn't even put
Well,
a
it's 'cause
neck
he
brace
got
on.
up.
They had to take my pads off. I feel like you would cut them off.
Yeah.
because I was dislocated. All I had to do was one step and done, paralyzed or dead.
or, hey, great job.
Yeah, well, I mean, people were doing that.
I know. Repeatedly.
So
Yeah. It's crazy.
it,
And you
I mean,
flew back.
when you think about it, it's scary, but at the same time, I was hopped up on
everything.
painkillers.
It was a direct flight too.
So I think, and I
up
don't know
on
if this
Mountain
is
Dew?
correlated, but I feel like a good sign of a really great surgery is if you don't have to use painkillers too much. I really didn't. I think I maybe popped 3 pills the entire time that I was in a neck brace.
Nice.
Post op.
What was the recovery, physical therapy like?
Since this was my first major injury, I feel like the first thing you go through as an athlete is you want to just jump right back in. So like I wanted to do more, but I had to sit there and it was like, okay, you got to take your hand, put it over your head and stretch your neck and sit there. do that repeatedly 5 times for 15 seconds. I was like, I need to go sprint. I need to go lift weights. I need to do all this stuff. So that part was tough in the beginning. I realized it was going to be a long road anyways. So we did some slow stuff. Like one of my ones that I thought was actually the best was we took a soccer ball, put it on the wall, and I would stand there and I put pressure onto the soccer ball. It wasn't a fully pumped, that kind of thing. But I think that helped a lot. Our trainer, Andrew Cavacci, just, he really, you don't get neck injuries often.
Yeah.
So like he probably had to do a lot of research on this or whatnot, but he did a phenomenal job and I feel great. I actually still use some of the things that he taught me today whenever my neck's just feeling a little sore, and it always works. It always works.
Nice.
So, but yeah, it was different. It's a neck injury, So.
Yeah.
One thing I've found that, and I think a few of you could agree with this, it's like the physical therapy and just going through that is probably the most challenging because you just have to have a mental state where it's like you're chasing something to get back on the field or get back to performing at something. And that's just a freaking whirlwind.
Yeah.
So during that point, did you feel like at any given time, like I'm just done with football, like I don't want to do this anymore?
No, since it was our junior year, I still felt like I had a lot in me and a lot more I wanted to put out on the field because I knew I wasn't playing after this. I was ready to close my chapter in football, but I wanted that one last season. So because it happened so early in the season, that comeback was a little bit easier. If it was later in the season, that'd probably be a little bit tougher to make a call on. But no, I was ready to rock and roll.
I think one of the most difficult things is, which you just touched on a couple seconds ago, is the point of the impatience.
Yes,
where it's like
that's a great way to put it. Impatience.
You feel that well, the desire is there, so you feel that you want to go and perform like you were pre-injury, and the impatience of because physical therapy or any type of post-treatment stuff, it takes weeks or sometimes months. Like it's never a really short stint. It's like
Never.
very slow, very consistent, and then you get back into it. But the impatience is like one of the harder things. I think it's all mental, but it's just like you're doing all this stuff, and then you gotta it's almost like driving a car from 60 to 5 miles an hour. You're like, I want to go 60 again.
Right.
And
Or
it's
even 40.
very unique.
Yeah.
It's very unique, some of the movements and stuff that you have to do. I mean, it made me realize why there's a 2-pound freaking dumbbell in a training room like that.
Yeah.
It's because you have to start that low, and that slow.
And neck is interesting too because it's kind of awkward. It's not like shoulders. A lot of normal shoulder exercises that we're used to.
I know.
Normal shoulder stuff that we're used to, but neck, it's you're not really lifting that. Although I've recently got, and maybe you should look into this. I got an iron neck. Did I tell you guys about that?
I already have an iron neck, Kenny.
No,
Oh
They
my
put
gosh.
they put in a plate and 4 screws.
Good.
no,
They had to take the screws out of
that
that were loose in my head and put them in my neck.
Do you go off when you walk through TSA?
No, they don't.
Morgan
That's not
does,
a.
Morgan does?
with her.
Really?
Oh,
her
really?
knee.
Because
Yeah,
you have to carry a thing.
She has to go through
card
the
or something?
scanner, the more high tech one. But if she goes through the normal scanner, she beeps with
Oh,
her
shit.
knee
No,
replacement.
yeah, I'm good. That's crazy. It's probably because of how much metal's in the replaced knee.
Probably.
Compared to the neck?
I thought they used different material. That's
Yeah,
why
they
I
use,
didn't go off.
titanium or
But
something. Something like that.
But still, it's the newer ones. It's fine. But the older scanners, they told her she knew that going in.
Well,
as a
the
result.
newer
the
ones, when you
older
stand
scanners,
there,
got
it
it.
shows you on a screen. It isolates where the metal is.
Right, yeah.
On the older ones, I think it's just full
Which is
body.
why the old ones she beeps on, but the new ones it's fine.
Gotcha.
She
They're
just has to tell them
your
every
knee.
time.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
They can tell. That's interesting, though. Well,
But I'm not the only one with a serious injury here.
Yeah, Johnny, what happened to you? Those
You can go
hips.
first. I'd love to hear your story first.
Me? Of how I would have went pro.
Yeah.
No, I actually had 2. My senior year of high school, I dislocated my elbow, punt returning. So I caught it, put my arm down. Yes, one of my arms is longer than the other, and it does, especially for alterations. The right one out here just extends a little bit farther, bench press, all that. But so I got up, I was fine, and then I looked at my arm, and it is over here. And when I saw that, it hit me of what the hell just happened. I collapsed, had to be taken out in the ambulance. There were speed bumps. We had to go over a couple speed bumps in the ambulance with my arm hanging over there.
You were like Golden Arm from
Oh,
Blue Mountain
dude,
State.
Dude, it was...
I mean, that's not funny.
It was
I'm sorry.
terrible. It was terrible.
Yeah.
But that sucked because that was senior year.
Now, just stop you real quick. Was it more of a gruesome injury than it actually was like it hurt and anything? Or like was it more shock, or did it actually like physically hurt like hell?
I think it was more shock because I got up and I didn't know what had happened, and I'm looking at the sidelines for the next play, and then everyone's looking at me, and then I look down and I see my arm, and then I collapsed.
Oh, so you passed out?
I passed out, yeah, basically.
Gotcha.
So I think it was like initial reaction. I didn't really know what happened until you see it, and then you realize it.
Well, dislocating anything is weird. I dislocated fingers before. It is just awkward. It's just a very weird look.
Right.
The pain never was there, but like fingers, like my fingers like this way. Yeah, like I've done that multiple times.
My finger got better.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a weird look. And I think you also, in the moment when you're doing those things, the adrenaline just like completely wipes out the feeling. So that's why you probably didn't realize it. But when you notice it, you're like, especially your elbow, because it's like a big limb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, everything happens for a reason. End up still being able to go to Stetson, meet you fuckers, play ball together. But then, we all redshirted that first year. So I think we are done with fall practice, and we are like a week out from the season. And then I tore my ACL, and that one was tough because then I had to miss an entire year.
It was the era of the beanies.
Yeah, I think Johnny made the point about that mental state. Mine was challenging. I didn't really realize it until the years after, and we've talked about it. But I think I definitely went through some form of depression, for sure, because just it was taken away from you, and especially the fact, I think, combining that we didn't get to play the first year, so all the anticipation, and then I didn't get to play the second year. It's like I've just wasted 2 years of going here from a football standpoint, and then I come back the third year and it ain't working. Like all the things I could do mentally that I used to be able to, I couldn't before. I couldn't now, and I struggle with that. So it was a lot, very tolling. Nothing like breaking a neck, but for me it was.
You had
a journey.
Different battle. I was able to return. I think I got lucky.
Yeah.
Yours was different. I mean, you needed. Not that I don't need my neck to fucking play football, but you needed your knee to make routes.
Yeah.
And that was your bread and butter. Now, other than the fact that you had fucking great hands, your
Not
routes.
anymore.
Your routes were you're fucking bricks at this point. But no, your knees were. You needed them. We always said you were the best route runner on the team at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, there could be some arguments on some other people that think that they're better, but. We'll leave that to the receivers to argue about. Drama queens.
Prima donnas we prefer.
Prima donnas, thank you.
Please,
Sorry.
thank
That's
you.
actually the better term. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
But how is the elbow? I'm sorry. I didn't know if you wanted to.
Well, no, you brought up a good point. It's like the impact, the region of the industry, or the region of the injury, where it happened, I think was more impactful for you. Even though like the neck is such like a central point of your body, but for you, it's like as a receiver, like your knee and what you have to do to pivot and to change a course of momentum. Like there's just a lot of impact and pressure on that joint and on that muscle and tendon at that point in time. So I feel like that's really difficult. It's really difficult for a lot of, and then that's why you see a lot more injuries on knees and ankles and things like that in sports like football. But you don't see as many neck injuries. But
they're out there. There's just
probably
usually more gruesome.
But you see a lot of ACL, MCL, things like that.
Well, that's 2014. So obviously we're 10 years later. So from a medical standpoint, everything's improved. But still, I think any athlete deals with this when you get injured. You think you can do all these things from a mental standpoint, and then your body. You've heard the term, your body fails you in that regard, and you have to reinvent yourself. I didn't. I just tried to keep doing the same thing over and over, and figuring at some point it would kick back, and it did. But it wasn't until about 18 months later. Yeah. At that point, we're basically about to graduate.
I think what playing sports in college taught me, and I think everybody, it's like physical therapy is much harder than the actual practice in the actual game. 100%. And if you actually treat that and do the things appropriately, it's only going to benefit you in the long run. But short-term thinking. You're not thinking that way, unfortunately, because I remember, like, Andrew used to have to text me, always have to call me and be like, dude, get your shit together. Yep. Like, you have to do it, and if you don't do it, you're never going to get better. And that was, like, the one thing I feel like I did not take serious in the beginning. And then I realized, like, at the end of the day, you got to do it. Get in the cold tub, get in the jacuzzi, do all the right things from a stretching standpoint. And you guys know me. I've always been pretty thankful. I never really had to stretch. But when it came to injuries and learning, like, what it takes, I always had to stretch. But your actual knee, the worst thing about, I don't think there's a good or bad in any situation when it comes to an injury, but like it was the last play of practice.
Practice was over, and then we had to run. We
One
were
more.
running one more.
You didn't even get touched.
One more play.
Yeah, it was a non-contact, but that's how a lot of it happens with
Yeah.
the knee. It's just it gets stuck, it pivots one way, and your body goes the other. And
Last
Done.
play of practice, fall camp.
their fall camp or first week out of fall camp. Yeah, I just felt the pop, and you knew right there, like this. I've never felt this before. Something is wrong, and just
And I think a lot of people can relate with you because, and I think it's interesting, and I think it's very prideful for you that you can talk about, like, hey, there was a very negative mindset. It was a really bad impact. You dealt with a little bit of depression because a lot of people go through that, and that's half the battle. I mean, how can you recoup and get back? And
there's some regret there too,
tough.
because for the last 2 years of football, and more, you two can attest to it. My attitude towards football was Debbie Downer. I definitely was one of those kids where, from a team standpoint, probably should. I think our Coach Hughes used the term to one of you, was like, "You got to take him behind the barn and beat his ass. Like, get in line, get with the team, or get out." And I was someone who, in the moment, just wasn't helping the team get better. Was being probably a little selfish, and that sucks. And I reflect on that a lot, think about it a lot, but make sure it doesn't happen in the future. That's all you can do.
But it's young kids at this point too, like 19 years old.
You think you're invincible.
Right.
You do. You think you're invincible. Something like this happens to you. You're not prepped for going through this mental voyage at this point in time, and it's not something that you really think about at this point of your athletic career. And I think that there should be probably processes in place to make sure that you're mentally aligned for the possibilities of these things happening as an athlete. Because at any point in time, for any athlete, whatever sport it is, whether it's lacrosse, volleyball, football, baseball, basketball, anything, I think you have to be open to understanding that it is a possibility as an athlete.
Right.
When you're doing these types of things with your body and you're performing at a physical level like that. So, yeah, it's not your fault or in any way, shape, or form. It's something that we're young.
I think
So-
what's
real young.
interesting is, and I think the NFL's in a tough spot for this because we're not doctors, but you had the whole concussion thing, and then there was an overcorrection where we're going to take hits from the head away. But now you see more and more people's knees and the lower body is just getting torched and getting torn up. And that has its own repercussions as well. No, it's not directly the brain, right? But there's still a whole avenue that we haven't been able to explore yet where people are down for a year, 18 months, some of these injuries are gruesome. We've seen them on TV, and it's because you've had to change the target and, the method in which defenders go and hit. Is it for the better? I don't know. But from experience, like it's not, I don't know if it's the right answer because it's still people having to make adjustments, change their lives, go on those journeys themselves if that happens to them. So it's interesting. That's what I can say.
A lot of people, I feel like, that are in athletics, especially when they go beyond Little League, then beyond high school, then beyond college, and if they're fortunate enough, beyond into professional or even semi-pro kind of stuff,
Sure.
They're defined by athletics. And so when an injury like that happens to them, it can make or break them. And I think that's why some people go through those mental challenges. I'm not saying for me specifically that it wasn't a challenge, and I didn't, because man, it sucked to obviously have to be catered by all my buddies because I couldn't drive, I couldn't do all these things for like the longest period of time. I felt useless, and then I couldn't move after the neck brace came off, all this stuff. But because I think I was getting ready for football to close, and I got to play my first season, and this was my second season, and I had an outlook like I'm gonna make it to the next season. Like I didn't think of it as like this is the end. So maybe that is different for me. And plus, let's be real, I was a kicker punter too, so all I had to do was just go straight. That was it. Like there was no contact happening for me. Like the risk of re-injuring, even though the first game back, I had to make a tackle with a leading blocker, and then I stayed down a little bit longer just to. It was pretty fucked up on my part. But anyways, I couldn't imagine like how your take was or anyone else is going through that. Like, you were so excited to prove yourself on the field.
Yeah.
You had bounced around a couple of high schools too, and you never got to really be that shining glory at each high school where you had the 4-year build up and all that stuff. Right now, this was your time. Like I'm in college now, I can blah blah blah. So I can imagine it was tough.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that you got out of that too, and learned from it, not necessarily kept that going, because that could have been a completely different path for your life.
Right. That's trials and tribulations, and we all have to go through different things, and we grow from it, and we have that decision to make. So, yeah.
Good times.
Jonathan, let's talk about your hips. Let's talk about the hips, baby. Come on.
Talk about a lying hip.
The hips.
Who would have thought a transition from quarterback to tight end would be so brutal? I mean, my God, the hips was a daily discussion.
I've never seen someone pop so much Advil in their fucking life.
Yeah. So I broke my ulna and radius. That was like my first major injury playing football. That was like Pop Warner. Someone stepped on me, kind of similar to your story. College, obviously the AC joint, the rotator cuff's always an issue switching to tight end. But I think for me, I battled those hip injuries, right? Both sides. And it was the mental state, because I could never reach my full potential of what I felt I could do. And it was just an up and hill battle. It was gruesome. I mean, dude, Tylenol, Advil all day, every day, painkillers, like, it was just not fun. But thankfully for me, and this is one thing, like, I am super grateful for my opportunity to play sports in college, to play football. Like, I never missed a game. I played in every single game, traveled to every single game, saw action in every single game. So I'm extremely thankful. But the thing that always, I just was never in a good headspace. And it was a constant battle of just, what if? Well, if this would happen. And I learned very quickly, like, and I hate to say it and I hate to admit it, but I had to play a role. And I had a role on that team, but I was okay with that. And that's what kind of kept my mindset, I think, from being someone who was somewhat positive in the moment. But that last year, man, I remember during fall camp, the only reason why I didn't pack it up was because of Kavachi. I remember going in his office, like, crying, and I'm like, dude, I just can't do this anymore. Because then, like, you start to think about your future. And it's like, is this really good for my health, future state? Am I going to have to deal with this when I'm 30, 40, 50 years old? And he kept me, he's like, bro, you've done this for 3 years. You've got one more year left. Like, we're about to start the season. Like, don't do it now because you'll regret it later. Thankfully, I didn't pack it up. We were also projected to do very well that year. Reality was different.
Tough.
But, yeah, it was not fun. It was not fun.
I give a lot of credit to you because I compare your reaction to injuries with mine. And you made the comment, you've learned that you had to play a role. And for me, I wanted to play a specific role that I envisioned as a prima donna receiver. And you were a guy that, like you said, you didn't miss a game. You played special teams. You goal line package, 1 yard pop pass. That was you. That was your thing. And that's the type of mentality. Like, I look at that, I was like, damn, I could have been better from that standpoint. So I think you have two examples for any athletes out there, that may be going through this journey or at some point. You look at that comparison, and that's the right way to handle it. It's team first. It always will be.
There's no I in team.
There's not. But the mental headspace is a big thing. But you, for what you battled,
but there's an I in passion, right, Johnny.
Jeez.
There's an I in a win.
All right, come on.
I'm just kidding.
Winning.
You did it the right way, and
yeah,
hats off to you, man.
Appreciate that, man. It was tough, dude. I cried like a baby a lot, man. Shit was not fun.
Sports will do that to you.
Constant pain's never fun.
Yeah, we lived together for a long time in college, and I saw you deal with it a lot. Like, it was just like waking up. I feel like for you it was like a difficult thing, like getting out of bed and just like getting going in the morning was like tough. And I feel like I always just saw you like just living with it. See, I didn't see the angle as much, in the later years of, on the field and stuff like that. But I just saw like the day to day for you, and that was tough.
That's
and you just
point.
lived with it too. Like, it was just a part of you.
Well, you guys were roommates. We were roommates, and you're right. It does wear on that other person, seeing them go through that struggle, having to support them.
We had a couple of fights.
100%.
I was trying to get your ass out of that funk, man. God damn.
Yeah.
No,
but it's not. It wasn't easy, So.
Welcome to Hot Takes,
Where we talk
about debatable topics.
Today's topic.
Can you teach athleticism?
Yes.
Right?
No.
John.
Do you think you have to be born with it?
Hold on, John. What's your standpoint?
Yes, for sure, no doubt about it.
I do not think that you can teach athleticism.
Look, I think you are a miles ahead if you are already athletic, very, very young age. But it can be taught. I've seen a lot of people that were not athletic.
Usain
at
Bolt was
all.
not taught how to be fast. He
Okay,
was born.
No.
That is
You were going with
athleticism.
the
You're
extreme.
That is athleticism.
That is
You
so
can
ridiculous.
enhance
You just-
athleticism, but you cannot teach someone
Which
who's not an
means-
athlete to be an athlete.
Right.
You can teach the fundamentals. You can teach the framework.
Yes.
You can teach the betterment of that.
Yes.
And they can be improved, but they're already an athlete. They're
No.
already bound to be an athlete.
No, because there are people out there that are not naturally gifted. So they would be thought of as not being athletic. They might have very minimal athleticism. But then they can, if they want to, it really does come down to the individual too, because if they're coachable and they want to do it, they can become athletic. Now, where they reach in their heights might not be as high as a fucking Usain Bolt. Come on, man. The fucking fastest guy ever lived.
You can. So, like, you have people that just can come in and pick up and be fantastic at it, right?
Go ahead.
They're already athletes. They already are born with that skill. It's raw skill, and then yes, it can be coached, it can be improved, but they already have that ability in them.
Okay.
So, hold on.
Go ahead, Johnny.
Hold on.
I got one for you after this.
At the end of the day, when you talk about athleticism, what are the factors that are related to the word athleticism? It is balance and coordination. You can practice and get better at that every single day. So, therefore, you are being a better athlete.
When I see someone jump fucking and moss the hell out of someone and have a huge vert, that's not taught. That is God-given, born.
ridiculous.
Oh, you're telling me
So
you-
they didn't practice. They just randomly jumped 11 and a half fucking feet on a pole vault.
On that one.
That was dumb. Right?
Yeah,
You can teach a vertical.
You can enhance that, but
But hey, Usain Bolt, he's no shit, he's the fastest person. in the world.
What my argument is, you are born with talent.
yes, I think you're born with
I
talent.
think
You can
that is-
improve talent if there's talent at the foundation, and talent is already in existence. You can improve on it, but if the talent is not there, I don't care how much you teach something to someone. You're going to be basically beating a dead horse, and it's not going to be able to be built into that person. I think there's some framework of talent, some framework of athleticism already in existence.
What's the saying?
10,000 hours.
There's that one. But what's the saying
Which
about
I believe
talent?
someone brought that up on a previous podcast.
Work always beats talent.
10,000 hours has to exist, or can be put into existence if the foundation exists. If the foundation doesn't
you can
exist,
build a foundation. Look, if someone is not smart, okay, naturally smart, what do they have to do? They have to work for it. They have to read longer. They have to do different techniques and mechanisms to become smarter. They have to put more time in it. They might not have a photographic memory like some of these geniuses have. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be Albert Einstein.
I
okay?
think
I don't think they're going to be Oppenheimer and make a fucking atomic bomb or do the craziest, like they're not going to be Andrew Huberman as scientists, but they can get A's and B's, right? It's just incremental steps to becoming better, period.
There's a lot of and you're 1,000% right. There's a lot of people out there, a lot of professional athletes at what they do who are the best in their industry, they're best in their sport, that have said multiple times they were not the best at what they were doing in that given time, but their work ethic, just about what we've talked about for a significant time, it's the work they put in, both mentally, physically, their recuperation, etc., to be great at what it is, and they become a professional. We talked about Tom Brady in previous episodes. Perfect example. He is one of the best at what he did. He barely started in college.
Yep.
I think
Michael Jordan didn't even make his fucking middle school basketball team.
That one is fucking bullshit because he didn't make his team. He was like a sixth grader trying for eighth grade or a freshman trying for varsity. That one is bullshit, but fair on the Tom Brady thing.
I think you guys are harping on talent though, which is
I think it's
different.
how we're interpreting the question. Like Tom Brady, you can ask him. He is not athletic. He doesn't run fast. He doesn't throw it the furthest or whatever. But he is the greatest quarterback of all time with his skill set. But he's not gifted physically, athletically. He wasn't born with that. And I think that's where we
Johnny,
differ.
what was the definition of it again? What was the definition of athleticism? Balance and coordination?
Yeah, balance and coordination.
Okay, so he's so coordinated that he can throw such a fucking great football better than anyone else to ever fucking do it.
I think
that's
there's
a lie. He can't throw it better. Aaron Rodgers is much more gifted at throwing the football, specifically throwing it.
Yeah,
which is an
there's
athletic
levels
trait.
to the athleticism. I'm not saying he's not athletic though. Tom Brady is athletic, and he's taught to be
In
athletic.
a different way, he's athletic. And
Yes.
like the hand-eye
I'm not saying
coordination, reading defenses.
That
He's already athletic, yes.
He's the greatest
He's
quarterback
born
to
an
ever
athlete.
do it, but he's
Agreed.
not the best quarterback to ever do it.
He had a level of genetics. There's a level
Like
of
his
genetic
skills.
descent
We're not
that
the best.
comes down.
You just said Aaron Rodgers throws a better ball than
Yeah,
him.
gifted like physically, yes.
Yeah.
What,
There's a
Kenny?
level of genetics that comes along with
I
a
agree.
lot of this. If you do not have a specific form of genetics, you cannot teach genetics. Intelligence, okay, you're basing some things that are teachable and saying, oh, like getting smarter at something. Of course, if you invest time and education into the building a smarter person, the more resources and the more time you invest into that, you're going to get them smarter. You can't compare intelligence and like speed. Like, I mean, I think that there's a level of you have to kind of have the genetic foundation to be able to run and to be able to do certain things in order to perform. Now, can speed be enhanced? Of course it can be enhanced. But you're basing two things that are like, one has a genetic foundation, one really doesn't.
I'm sorry, but your body can be enhanced.
It can be enhanced, but you have to have a little level of genetic foundation.
Not really. You
So-
just have to have genetics, period.
So a very good example of the genetic piece, who is on the record and has said it multiple times, Ronnie Coleman. He genetically had it when he was born. He was always stronger than everyone from the beginning. But he always said the reason why he won the most Mr. Olympians, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Was because he fucking worked out harder and worked harder than anybody in the
Exactly,
gym.
which is the proof. You just said
But
he had
no,
that
no,
level
Kenny,
of-
Kenny,
but
I'm
if
sorry.
he doesn't actually do that, he's nothing.
You're-
You could lift 1,000 pounds tomorrow, and if you don't fucking work your ass off, put yourself in a position to actually succeed, how are you going to be the best athlete? in the gym?
Everybody that you're pointing out is a person that had a level of genetic foundation.
We haven't
that
pointed
figured
out-
it out. They
we
figured
haven't
it out.
pointed out a single person that was
You're
gifted
pointing out
athletically.
Tom Brady, Michael
Who
Jordan,
fucking ran a
Ronnie
s-
Coleman. All these fucking people are at the top of their athletic
Because
careers.
we're using the
at
best
one
people
point.
that at some point were not considered the best athlete.
That's
what we're
exactly
using.
talking- You guys are focused on athletic eliteness.
You're
I'm-
focused on that. They've brought
No,
up every fucking
I have literally argued that you can take Joe Schmo and make them
Find
a
me
little
Joe
bit
Schmo.
more athletic.
Find me Joe Schmo. Go Google it. Find me Joe Schmo.
He's not going to
Joe
play in the
Schmo.
NFL. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay, well,
so
you
Joe
haven't
Schmo can
found
play
that.
high school football. He can become a little bit more athletic. I can teach you to be more athletic. I can teach you to move. We can work on ladder drills. There's different methods that I can teach this man to move better, have better balance and control, and then play fucking a sport, not at the top level.
And Joe Schmo is still going to ride the bench against the 5-star recruit who didn't have
That's
to work
fine.
at it because he
There's
was already more
always-
athletic
That's
and born with
fine.
that God-given ability.
That's fine.
Always.
But I'm still teaching him to be more athletic. Where he was here to here.
You're
He all
saying
of a
like I
sudden
can get
moves
you.
better.
You're saying like I get from 0 to 1%.
It's incremental.
We're fucking saying if you have an inborn
This is my
athlete,
point.
a genetic athlete, a person that is born with the ability to perform at an athletic level, and you're taking someone who doesn't. Unfortunately, the person who has the inborn athletic genetics is going to outperform the person that you have to teach. Maybe because of speed, maybe
about
because
talent.
of faster of what?
You're talking about talent. You're not talking about athleticism.
Talent, athleticism, same
same
thing.
No, they're
thing.
not.
Yes,
Same
well, that's
thing.
why we agree on this.
I
Yes,
think
they are.
I think
Talent
the
is
question is
athleticism.
so it's
It is
very
obscure
tricky. It's
and
very
vague,
tricky.
but
Talent is just another word for saying that person has the ability to do something without being taught.
you can teach
Yeah, but-
someone that doesn't move very well, doesn't have very good balance and all this stuff,
Yeah,
to
you
do
can
these things better. And over time, they're going to get very good. And if they really put the time in, they have the potential to go places with it if they want to.
The problem is the speed of execution from the person that has the genetic foundation.
They're going to be incrementally better, yes.
Okay.
But it can be taught is the point. They just might have it. They get it. They just pick it up and it can go because they're talented.
I think what you need to have is like this is a competitive level where we say they have made it. The person that has a genetic foundation and is born with athleticism can reach that faster and easier.
Correct.
Can you get the person with no genetic foundation and no athleticism to this point?
So,
I'll let Johnny answer.
I mean, I don't really have the right answer. But however, like, I'm going to use this for an example. Just because I've started to follow people. Ironman. People who compete in an Ironman.
Okay.
Never did it before. Right? There's people who start training, go on for 3-4 years, and are now being sent to go compete at the world level. Never swam, ran, or cycled. Or were good at one or the other. There's people that are not good at swimming, but can compete. Like, it's all hypothetical. At the end of the day, I think the question could be asked a little bit differently, but you cannot tell me you cannot become more athletic and get greater as an athlete. And there's also, like, what is the context of what we're discussing here? Are we using a football player? Are we using a cyclist? Are we using a swimmer? Or, like, at the end of the day, Michael Phelps, yes, he's a freak. He's got a wingspan, like whatever.
He's a born athlete.
That's a genetic thing, though.
He's also, his body was built for it.
Okay.
Exactly.
That's not athleticism.
That is an outlier, though. That's a fucking outlier. Like, that's someone who
MJ is an outlier, too.
body
I mean,
size
that
is
is
not
one
athleticism.
person. Dude, like,
the people that you're bringing up.
He was born
this is
built
the problem.
for that.
Fuck this.
This is the problem.
Kurt Warner had no arm left. No arm left, was bagging groceries at a fucking Publix for all we know. He becomes a Super Bowl champ.
Even Kurt Warner, bro. Like, Kurt Warner was even an athlete, like, in college, and like, he still made it to a level that a lot of people do not make it. He had a level of athleticism that led him to even be an option at an NFL level because he had a level of athleticism.
Yeah, Ryan Sleemus doesn't blow out his knees in the NFL.
That's right, baby. That's what I'm fucking saying. I was born with it.
You're taking people that have a genetic element to their body, like they're 6'8", or their wingspan is 8 feet, and they have figured out that there's this sport or there's this event that they could. Well, you're telling me that Michael Phelps? You think Michael Phelps would have been that great at shot put?
He could have because his fucking
That's
mindset
actually a
was
good
there.
point. I was going to make that earlier.
No,
If
he's
he
a
won-
better swimmer than he's a shot put.
He was a fucking born fish.
Time out. Yao Ming, 7 foot, what, 10?
6, but
You're
yeah.
gonna tell me he would have been better at
Again,
NASCAR?
you can't teach that. Again, you cannot teach height. How many fucking basketball
You
players?
can't teach height, which is exactly.
But did
our
that
point.
lead them to be great at what they're doing, though? There's so many basketball players that are fucking the tallest.
You know what made them good is because they knew where their genetic ability had leverage. Right? They had leverage in height. When you're 7 feet, and he said, basketball is where I could potentially place this leverage and outperform the rest. They've matched whatever sport or whatever event. Don't give me that face. They've matched whatever sport or whatever event that's going to leverage and exploit their genetic abilities, and they were amazing at it.
So in other words, hey, for any kids,
Did he work at it? Of course he worked at it.
Any
Yeah,
kids
we're not
out there who
saying
have an
that.
aspiration to be great in sports or whatever you do, if you're not born genetically to be the best at whatever it is, don't even bother trying. According to these two, because again, athleticism is.
We did not fucking say that.
Yeah, Johnny!
We
Do
did
not listen to that
That's
bullshit.
what it
You
is.
can do whatever you put
You
your
need to have
mind
a
to.
little-
fucking mind.
You
to
need to
it
have a
and
little
you'll be great.
athletic ability.
What I am saying is if
can't-
there's something that you're great at and you realize that you're great at it, you're going to have leverage among anybody else to hit a faster track and a more thorough track to success because that is what you're great at. And if you exploit it and you use it as leverage, you're going to achieve success faster. That's it. Because he genetically or she genetically has that.
I understand you
Lean
have the
into
science
it.
side of it.
Yeah,
but
listen,
still.
Tiebreaker.
Ty, let us know, dude.
Tiebreaker. What do you got?
I'm not sure what are we arguing about?
Thank you.
Sick.
There are genetic advantages, but if we're talking about whether or not you can improve or like
Teach
athleticism, I think you definitely can.
Exactly.
But sure, you're starting off at at a higher point. Yeah, like Michael Phelps is a perfect
done.
example.
The
He's like,
problem with
You're
this
done,
question
Ken.
is that
Tiebreaker.
there
you
needs to be a
lost.
level.
You lost.
No.
It's
I didn't
okay.
lose.
Just hang up.
I didn't lose,
Hang
though.
it up in the rafters, dude. We're done.
I didn't lose. The question is
You've
just
reached your
fucked.
limit on this voicemail. Click. Voicemail
We're out.
full.
Let us know what you think. Thanks. Bye. Well, I feel like, what's interesting? We keep going back to just like the headspace and like the mental state. I feel like sports psychology and like having someone to talk to, I think it's more appreciated and discussed now. But like, I wonder like what institutions, what organizations, what companies, or even just in sports, like, is that part, like these bigger schools, they have to have something relevant or similar to that where
Yeah, you have to.
student athletes can go talk to. But like these smaller schools and whatnot, I think it's a little bit different. I don't know, but I know in like the NFL they do, right? And I feel like you would be able to test the most and know this a little bit better.
I'm going to target you because I feel like you might be the only one to pick this up. But in the national championship game for college, they were talking about J.J. McCarthy and
Yep.
how he has the team psychologist. He would talk to him every single day after every drive and just for this play, for this drive, let's reset your headspace. And they actually zoomed in during the game on him having a
It's like
conversation.
feeling-
That can do a lot. Like that can be so impactful for an individual. I think that if you have the right therapist or therapy team members, right? Like, because at the end of the day, I think you need a team because I mean you can't be one guy or one woman.
Not on a football team, at least.
No, there's just such a big
120
environment.
People, yeah.
Yeah, I mean you have such a large program, so it would have to be either dedicated to that individual team because you couldn't have one like if you had just a sports psychologist that was for an athletic program for a university. I mean, then you're talking
wow.
about
Yeah,
then
you're
you're
talking
talking
about all
about
the sports.
all
Yeah.
sports. It wouldn't be doable at that point. So you'd have
It's
to
no
have
different
it
than a
broken
training
down.
staff.
Yeah, you'd have to have it, but still, the training staff.
I mean,
They're
they have
seeing
to do
different
other
sports.
sports, yes, but you know,
So yeah, I don't know. It would be really difficult because
Still team.
like these and you they really become ingrained in knowing you and knowing the way that you think and helping you understand where you are today and where you need to get to. Even if you can't see that and you can't visualize that,
Yep.
they know the headspace that you need to get into. And there's a lot of things that could cause these mental blocks, but I think that can do wonders. And I never really saw that at a smaller program.
No.
I mean, I would hope that today maybe they're implementing that more, but at a larger level, like the NFL level, I'm sure that they have a team built around that. But yeah, it would be interesting to see the studies on how the program's size affects the sports psychology program around that environment, and it should be implemented in every program
I mean, should.
at every level.
I think the first time I actually ever saw that, like that was even a thing that could be, is from Ted Lasso. They actually had the sports psychologist on that, like from a fucking TV show. Now, granted, I know that they were talking about like other stuff,
Yeah.
which definitely comes into play with because you can bring stuff from your social life onto the field all the time.
Yeah,
that stuff
100%.
happens all the
All the
fucking
time.
time.
Yeah.
But I can see the benefit from an injury perspective too, and like if you're going through trials and tribulations, or even if you're just not performing well and you're in a funk. I mean, what do they call it in baseball? The yips.
Yep.
Which
Which is a real thing. Like that.
Yeah, it is.
So
Yeah, it is,
like
man.
having a psychologist, that would be probably a game changer.
And look, in baseball, especially in the MLB, when you're putting
Yep.
$400 million into a player over the course of a 10-year contract, like the numbers to get a sports psychologist on that person's side to help them become the mentally most powerful person they can potentially be is completely minimal compared to the contract size, because these contracts in MLB
Baseball
or in
is-
NFL, they're just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Soccer, I mean, these contracts are huge. So what it could potentially cost to have the right person in the place to get you and your team in a mental position
Right.
is, in my opinion, it's probably still to this day undervalued. They should invest into it more, and it's not invested into enough.
Sports are not just the physical; it's also the emotional.
Yeah.
You got to think about it, dude. Sports is a confidence game. I mean, these guys, you are the top athlete, you are the top individual, you are untouchable. And then when that's broken, some guys can't, like you talk about kickers. You have kickers that are automatic, and then they miss one, and then they miss 10. And it's just, they can't get it. The skills, it's not like the skills left, but they are just shell-shocked up here. 100%, man. Doesn't matter the sport. Like, just that confidence, that mentality, sometimes you can't get it back, but a lot of times
Gotta
you
have a
can't.
short
and-
memory.
Right.
Yeah, you see it. You see it in like I just remember. If I'm recalling, I think Conor McGregor took a little bit of a stint off in the UFC. He slowed down a little bit, and then he got Tony Robbins. He was working with him for a while, and that's when he came out. And I think, if I can recall, I think that was when he fought Cowboy. And I think that's around that same time, and he was a different person. Like Conor McGregor was like very aggressive, very like in your face. But then when he beat Cowboy, I believe it was when he had Tony Robbins in his corner, and he was far more like emotionally passive, like grateful for a win, grateful for an opportunity to that was in front of him, and it was a different headspace completely.
It was also he got humbled by Khabib. I believe the Khabib fight happened before.
Yeah, maybe.
And he was untouchable, right? But he took that. He beat I forgot the guy, Eddie Alvarez. He fought Floyd Mayweather. He took a break. He came back for Khabib. He got humbled.
I don't know, but that's a tough one to say. You think that he became more grateful because he got punched in the face and fell down? I don't know, because that would piss.
It wasn't that he got punched in the face, man. Khabib just mauled him like a bear, and then he had a long break, and he hadn't been back in 2 years. So I think it's part of, yes, he worked with Tony Robbins, but he was humbled, and he's won one time in what, 6 years?
Yeah, but I think though I don't really think that. There can be two approaches there.
There can be, but
I don't know if you take a loss like that and you say, okay, I got to change my mental output and say I'm going to be more grateful for the opportunity than I am more aggressive in wanting to just literally demolish someone. I don't know. With the way that he is, I think that his mentality is more like just emptying out the aggression in the cage and not focusing on gratefulness and the positive. But I think that when he worked with Tony Robbins, I think he shifted it to think more in a opportunistic, grateful, empowering type of position, where he could have went the other way and said like deeper. I don't know.
He also made all his money. That changes it. But
of course.
But
And that's
then
totally
he brought that approach, that grateful, humble approach to Dustin Poirier, lost, and then you saw him almost
pulled back from
recorrect, go over the line, which didn't work either. It almost was. Some would say it was karma, because he was like, you're gonna go out of there in a body bag, and he wound up breaking his ankle and got carted off. So it's just very interesting. We all love some Conor McGregor. He's a hot topic name, but his journey from 2018. Winning double champ to Floyd Mayweather to Khabib to COVID, the whole break, it's been a journey.
It has been a journey, but I think, and he's a really good person to look at on the injury standpoint and how an injury impacts mentality.
Sure.
Because he has come to the octagon with a level of mentality that's like very fierce, very, very like, I'm the fucking best. I am not going to be taken down. Then he gets injured. He makes a lot of money in the run, and I think that changes some things for him as well. I think that changes the fight in him a little bit. And then on top of that, he faces some big losses, and we'll see where he ends up. But I think that injury, he's come back from injury before, but I think that this one's a tough one. Yeah. And that's another thing to think about. Like, how does it change the person's career? Is it an inflection point from where they were, not only on a level of performance and mentality, but just like if you look at a whole career, right? You're looking at if it was just a constant uphill battle, and then they get hurt. Do they fall off? How does it affect their inflection point at that point?
It's different for everyone.
Yeah.
It also comes down to the team that you got surrounding you, right? Not just the players. I'm talking about like the support staff.
Yeah.
You got your athletic trainers. You got, like you said, the therapists and stuff. I mean, they're all part of it. So I mean, you gotta grind. You definitely gotta grind when it comes to an injury like that.
I would say with that team around you too, are they being real with you? Are they telling you how it is, or are they telling you what you want to hear, which then creates that false pretense of?
And then,
mentality.
I mean, let's be fair. The biggest challenge that anyone has to overcome when they have a major injury is, when do I come back? When am I ready? Because you come back too early, you're screwed. You're screwed. And you might actually create injury prone and all that stuff. But if you come back in the right amount of time, you put in the work and stuff.
It would be interesting to talk to someone who maybe was at the top or growing to be one of the best at what they were going to be in whatever sport, and then see like what a career-ending injury did and the impact it had on them, and like how did they recover just moving forward in their regular
where they're
life.
at in their life.
Yeah.
It would be very interesting.
That's
It's not covered much because then it just goes on to the next best athlete,
yeah.
right? Like that's
Yeah.
the sports
always another
coverage.
one. Yeah.
But I mean, I know like one of the biggest, speaking to comebacks quickly, I wasn't like Adrian Peterson, like a sports marvel because of his
Yeah.
knee. He came back so early.
Yeah.
Like, it was uncalled
True.
for.
Yeah.
And dude, he's
So-
another guy
AP
who
is-
literally was injured multiple times, and he kept coming back.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy because like you're playing running back one in the NFL, which is brutal, and it's just like you know that you've had a similar injury. What, on both different knees?
Dude, for
think
him, it's
Did he tear both of his knees?
I think so. I don't remember.
I don't know. I know the one knee he really destroyed.
Speaking of running backs, look at McCaffrey. Everyone thought he was done
Yeah,
early
he
years
did.
and that he was injury prone constantly. But it goes back to what you said, Johnny, the time that you put into the training room, and it's not when you're injured. It's to keep you going forward. What is it? LeBron spends $1 million on his body every
he does.
year.
Yes, he does.
Tom Brady did the same thing. I mean, that's where the real champions are made.
Yeah,
It's
very
in the
good point.
behind the scenes. It's not for what they do on the field. It's because everything that they led up to that point, the muscle memory that they built from being in the gym. It's the cold plunges. It's the rehabs that they did.
Yeah.
Taking care of the body, foam rollers, all of that stuff. And the technology only gets better in that arena. And I think a lot of athletes are starting to speak up about the rehab portion of their jobs. And I think it's starting to trickle down into the younger crowd, which is great.
Well, and you
Fantastic.
guys probably know this a little bit more, but I forget what there was a maybe Netflix or Hulu came out with a series about Tom Brady.
If they did, I haven't seen it yet.
It was a while ago.
Was it like not the chosen one?
Yeah, or maybe it was like an HBO or something. I forget what it was. It was like a mini series, and
look
it
it
kind of walked through Tom Brady's, like I would say, training and physical therapy, whatever you want to call it, was a super non-traditional format, and he has a person that is outside of, like, it's just his person.
he's-
outside of his.
The TB12. Like he
Yes.
was part of.
Yeah. And they go through that, and it's like really, really interesting stuff. And there's a lot of pushback on it from like larger networks and larger teammates, and that just didn't really believe in the non-traditional format of what he was going through. And yeah, I mean, when I say like invested, he is invested into that, and you can't say it didn't work with a person who had a long career like that at such a pinnacle of a athletic performance level. So I don't know.
Man in the Arena is what it was called. I just looked it up.
Yeah, Man in the Arena.
Yeah.
Check that out. It's really interesting. And
You mentioned LeBron, and as a Heat fan, you know, when they came to the big three, some stories came out. With Dwayne Wade, his knees kind of failed him. His body failed him. And one thing that he talks about is that adds to how LeBron has continued to do this. Yes, he's put a ton of money in, but he's like, when they first got together, I think LeBron's probably 24, 25 when your body feels fantastic.
Yeah.
And Wade would look over and he's like, why are you icing your knees? Like, he was at an early age doing all that type of, you know,
A
prep.
pioneer.
Exactly.
That's exactly what it
and
is.
look how it's paid off. So it's not just all the investment. It's for how he probably started that at a very early age.
I don't
and
know
just
where he
helped
picked that
build.
up from.
Yeah.
But man, whoever told him something or whatever article he read or whatever,
Like you
kudos,
said,
kudos, huge kudos, because that's just where sports are going now is all the rehab stuff.
yeah.
And that's a positive thing sometimes about just like shedding light on, like, you have access on social media and see all these little things. Like, obviously social media has its negativity, but like the positive thing is you see so many athletes like posting videos about what's going on behind the scenes, or getting on podcasts, or getting on whatever, and talking about the work that's actually behind the scenes that's actually most beneficial for them to be great at whatever it is that they're doing.
Yeah. And it doesn't stop at sports.
No.
You should
No.
be taking care of your bodies
No.
throughout your
Fuck
entire
that.
lifetime.
yeah,
I mean,
like,
I think I own 7 foam rollers in some capacity. I've got a water
You
bottle.
own
That's
a-
a
yeah,
foam
you
You
roller.
have a cold tub.
I've got the
Portable.
stick roller. I've got the cold tub now. It's freaking fantastic. I love
This
it.
guy foam rolls on the 8th
The
hole.
percussion machine.
We're about to tee off. He gets the water bottle foam roller. Johnny and I are looking. He's on the ground at the course, just rolling out the back.
Well, big swing coming up, boys. Let me just stretch it out a little bit.
water bottle.
I do that before golf now. I have a whole stretching routine and everything. It's fantastic, and it's proven to help. So
Kenny, when you were like powerlifting and like getting really into lifting, did you ever like sustain any like injuries that kind of set you back?
At that point, I was at one of those ages, like Ryan just said, you're in your young early 20s. So, I mean, my health was pretty strong. I think that for me, the biggest difficulty that I dealt with was just when you're working out with that much weight that consistently. We're talking about deadlifting almost 700 pounds, benching mid threes every week, squatting mid fives every week. So it's a lot of weight. For me, I think what I felt the most was a lot of pressure on my joints. Like I'd come into the workout and I'd be benching and I would feel like I was benching too much for my joints, specifically my elbows and my shoulders. And I really didn't face, as much as I deadlifted, I didn't really face any back injuries, which was awesome because that definitely happens and then that screws you up with deadlift and squat. But I would feel like it was more on my elbows and shoulders and a lot of just joint pain. And it was just probably because of just the heavy weight constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really take too much time off, like ever. You would do a loading phase workout where you'd increase weight very consistently and kind of reach a point where you knew where you were going to perform. So you'd stack workouts on a 12-week regimen and you would build up. And then your last week, you'd kind of like take a little bit of a lighter week so that when you went and hit a powerlifting competition, your body wasn't worn out. And then when you did that, it was really fun. That was a very like individual voyage for myself.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely programs out there where you can do things as a team for powerlifting. You had in your high school had like a whole program built around that.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have any like anybody to talk to about it for the most part. So if I got injured, I was kind of dumb about it. I would just like not really take care of it, and I would just work through it, which probably isn't the best. But yeah, for the most part, no, I didn't face too much. But again, you're in your early 20s.
Yeah.
You're just like fucking grinding, and you don't care.
Dude, you were putting up some fucking weight.
Yeah, it was fun. I liked it. I liked competing. It was good. It was a really fun time.
Did you do a lot of like warm ups and stuff before you started going to your big lifts? Especially when you're doing compound movements.
For me,
Or is it just get right into it, start fucking deadlifting? I mean, maybe you started with lower weights. I'm saying, like, did you take time to like get your hips going, making sure that you maybe got your heart rate up or something beforehand, foam roll session in before you go? I mean, whatever. Did you do anything?
For me, I'm not very much of a flexible person. So for me specifically,
Yeah, you're pretty tight,
rigid.
dude.
I'm just very tight, like very like.
That's why when he sleeps on his pillow,
Tight.
Yeah, I'm just super tight. So I would stretch it out a little bit. I would try to hit a bike if I could for like a 15, 20 minute, medium speed bike. But honestly, like how I would warm up if I was going to deadlift, I throw on 135, add plates, 225, add plates, 315, add plates, 405, add plates. And then once I got to 405, I just took a gap and I would just like start off at like 600 and then you have 3 attempts. So you have, you want to start off at a weight that you could clear. That's like difficult, which was usually like a 90% in the gym. So I'd start off somewhere in like the low 6s, clear that. And then I'd go to like a weight where I knew was like, this is like the best I've done, close to within 5 to 10 pounds. And then that third attempt is like, I'm going to fucking hit this for the first time in front of everybody. This shit's going to be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm going to win this shit today. That was cool. Like that was a fun time. I don't, just my hips are super tight. Mm-hmm. My back was super tight.
You used to do cupping and stuff too, right? And all that. Was that later?
Not then. I did that later.
Oh,
I
okay.
did that later, and mostly because of shoulder injuries from that.
Yeah, your shoulder's shot at this point.
Yeah, my left shoulder is just might as well not even have an arm. It just sometimes dangles. I feel like.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of strongmen lately, and like Eddie Hall, when he was covering his fight against Thor, you saw his rehab center that he built into his house. Holy shit. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's insane. I mean, one of the best to ever do it, Brian Shaw. I mean, he does all this stuff too, like the warm-ups and everything. Like, I think that's kind of like you said, LeBron, he figured it out at a young age. Like, that's what's going to separate you for longevity. Man, if anyone's listening that's going through this and they're trying to take a long sports career, like you gotta put the time in. You have to.
Yeah, there's a
tub,
lot
cold
just
tub,
built
cold
around
tub.
it. Like you have your core practice, right? Whether that's a sport or that's powerlifting or bodybuilding, you have your core program. But outside of that core program, you have to have these ancillary programs that help ensure
Big word.
that either the flexibility or the just the proper blood flow, like the proper building blocks are built so that your core fundamentals are able to be performed without inhibiting anything outside of that.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of it, like you see a lot of people do yoga. Like yoga's a
Yoga's
really great thing.
I do a lot of Pilates nowadays for my back.
Pilates
It's a lot of
too.
core and hips
should.
and stuff. Because
Yoga's-
ever since I did my lower back, I do yoga and Pilates. They're
That's
fantastic.
tough. Honestly,
Yoga.
it
It's not
is
easy.
difficult.
Yoga
It's
is
not easy.
I do a
hard.
yoga workout. I'm like dying.
It
like,
hurts
It is tough.
because like you're trying to put your body in a position that you are not used to. This is me,
No.
10 hours in a day.
Upward, downward dog.
I mean,
What's that?
it's
Yeah,
nuts.
it's tough.
It's fucking warrior pose. God,
Yeah, no, it is difficult stuff, man. But it really
Jesus,
pushes your
Johnny.
body beyond the limits.
you're also sick too.
What? We love a good yoga exercise.
Nah, forget it.
Nah, come on.
No,
What you got?
there's nothing.
Nah.
There's this person that at RDV, the gym we go to, does fucking yoga in the steam room or the sauna.
Yes.
And I'm just
my
like,
God. I mean, is
Like
it
hot
inconvenient
yoga?
for everyone else? Yes, but that's still.
doing great.
Steam room, sauna's tough enough. It's tough enough just sitting in there.
I'm like, bro.
Dude's
It
getting
does
after
help
it.
the time go back because I'm just like,
You're just watching this
the
guy.
fuck is this guy doing?
Can you
right
picture John just sitting in there, just a face? He's just.
You should start just going.
He at least wears
Namaste.
shorts.
Namaste.
Namaste.
I'm gonna stay right here. I'm gonna stay right here. Watch your ass.
Love it.
It's good.
Genesis Health,
Genesis,
by
yeah,
the way.
great-
RDV.
great
Yeah,
institution.
right. Okay.
I'll see you on Monday.
Yeah.
All right.
Any other last input on injuries?
Ty, you suffered any serious injuries?
I pitched, played baseball. I was a pitcher
Okay.
and a catcher, so my right shoulder's pretty shot. I can't throw a ball without it hurting for a week straight.
Did you ever run into I know pitchers all the time, elbow is always one that
Not my
comes
elbow,
up.
no, just my shoulder. I
shoulder?
just didn't
A
like. My
tendonitis?
dad always told me I started throwing curveballs too early.
This last
Yeah.
night.
We were.
And
Really?
my dad was like, "You're gonna mess up your shoulder." And I'm like, "No, I'm not gonna mess up my
And
shoulder."
there's the
Yeah.
invincible young kid, man.
Young, dumb, and stupid.
Hey, it was
That'd be us.
it was worth the amount of times my coach would jump out of the batter's box and then it would be a strike. So I would.
He said my thing was coming.
Ty, look at you.
Thing has some.
So you were throwing curveballs early. Good for
Okay.
you, man.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's an interesting thing too, which I don't know too much about, but we all have had that when you play like little league. Like curveballs at a young age, not a good thing.
I never
My
made it
brother-in-law-
past T-ball.
Brent, who y'all
I
met, my
hated
brother-in-law, he's
baseball.
had the surgery.
It was too slow for me. I left. I played lacrosse, smacked some people. It was
I love
lacrosse was
Baseball,
awesome.
soccer until I played football.
Lacrosse was basically hockey with shoes. It was great.
Lacrosse is sick.
Fucking loved it.
We were talking about that last night. I'm surprised it hasn't. I thought in 2014 that time frame it was going to blow up. It was going to explode onto the scene, but it just kind of
What?
lacrosse.
It was awesome, dude. It was like
It
was
started
great.
as an up north sport.
Yeah.
It came down here and got pretty big, but I don't know what happened. It just
It's
it
still
didn't-
big.
it didn't
It's
get-
still big,
It's
but
still
up
big.
north, it's bigger.
It was building. I think that's what Ryan was saying. Like it was everywhere, and then all of a sudden, like you don't really hear about lacrosse too much anymore.
And maybe it's the fact that, like you said, it's a northern sport. We were in South Florida. We were seeing it kind of explode on the South Florida scene. But
Yeah, my brother played it. He transitioned from hockey to lacrosse because hockey's an expensive sport, especially in Florida.
hockey's great. Too.
Ice time is expensive.
Yeah, I bet.
but yeah, lacrosse is sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It's a cool sport. It's a very cool. The lax bro. That was what was like. A lot of people were. That was a trending topic around like social media and stuff.
It was
Fucking
good.
lax
I love
bros.
lacrosse. That was fun. That was a good time. Cool. Anything else?
Yeah.
I think we're good.
All right.
Let's try to
Stay-
get out of the IR, man.
Stay
That's it.
healthy.
Until
Until
next
then.
The bender
Bender
continues.
continues.